I become a totally different person when I am eating sugar and processed food. I isolate myself. I don't want to do anything or go anywhere. All I think about is the next junk food I can eat and how to hide what I am eating from my family. I have come to the realization that I have to be an abstainer from crappy carbs, not a moderator. Eat one cookie and the whole bag disappears. I have been eating ketovore and one meal a day for 2 years. I am on day 6 of a 7-day water fast right now. I only eat within 1 hour every day. I don't eat any snacks and never outside of the 1 hour window. So far, within 3 months, I have lost 25 pounds. I stopped growing gray hair, my acne went away, and I no longer have any back pain. Insane the amount of damage overeating does to your body. This guy is dead on, and I'm so thankful I listened to this doctor. His lecture on fasting changed my life. It sent me down a rabbit hole of becoming my own doctor. When a doctor is giving info without selling something, you know his intentions are pure.
So because your bacteria change, you change. Because you are a symbiotic relationship between your physiology and the physiology of the bacteria. So perhaps they're changing. As a result of their changes, can you get addicted? Yes, you can. Are there chemicals released by those bacteria that get released into your bloodstream and can affect your physiology? And the answer is a definite yes. Because remember that almost 50% of the micronutrients that are floating around in your body have been either manipulated or produced by the bacteria in your gut, and then it gets into your bloodstream. So don't think that your physiology is just your physiology. It's your physiology is a sum total of yours plus all the physiology of the bacteria and everything that it's doing. You're a symbiotic relationship. So that's very important. And could addiction cause behavioral disorders? Of course it does. Behavior changes when you're addicted. Just think about it. If someone is addicted to cocaine, for example, or intravenous heroin, his entire behavior is going to change. There's going to be denial. He's going to be doing certain things that you would never expect him to do. He's going to be manipulative. This is so important that in order for me to talk about weight loss, in order for me to talk about maintaining your diet and changing your physiology and your biochemistry and your hormones, I got to talk about some addiction. Because I want to reverse my metabolic syndrome, I want to reverse diabetes, I want to reverse sleep apnea, I want to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, degenerative joint disease, dementia, and even some cancers. Because if we do not lose weight, if we do not metabolically get back to the way we need to be, we are in deep trouble. Losing weight is not the only goal. Let me explain something to you. If we change your biochemistry and you change your metabolism, weight loss is going to happen. Because it's not a weight loss program. You're basically changing your physiology and you're changing your hormones, and weight loss is just a side effect of it. And automatically your weight goes to where it needs to go to. What changed it first was the biochemistry, the hormones, and your entire body's system changes. Then the weight loss happens. So, what are processed foods? How do you define a processed food? This is so important. This is of utmost importance. We should be telling this to all the children who are watching. Processed foods, they are not found in nature. Not found in nature. So anything that's in a packet, a box, manufactured in a factory, that comes ready-made, that's a product. Are you going to continue to consume products? Because if you do, there's a good chance you're going to get addicted. Combination of substances that are not found in nature. For example, combination of fat and sugar. Name me one substance that's in nature that is fat plus sugar. Name one. Can you name one? There's not one substance that occurs in nature with that type of combination. Now, when the body sees these combination of nutrients coming in, how's it going to react? So there's lots of biochemistry I can talk about. I can talk about the mitochondria, and the mitochondria has been bombarded by the sugar, but then along come the fats also. It's causing like a congestion on a highway, and these poor mitochondria cannot function properly. And what symptoms you're going to get when you get mitochondrial dysfunction? You're going to get fatigue and tiredness and lack of energy. I'm just giving you one example. But these combinations, these unnatural combinations cause an unnatural reaction in your body. The body is superbly designed to handle nutrients in certain combinations as they come in. For example, I've talked to you about fiber before. I told you that there are two types of fiber, soluble and insoluble fiber. So when the fiber is mixed in with the food that's naturally produced, the fiber goes in, it forms a little mesh in the duodenum so that the sugar that's mixed in and the carbohydrates that's mixed in with the food does not get exposure to the K cells in the duodenum. So the duodenum doesn't see all that sugar, so it doesn't send a signal via GIP to the pancreas to say, hey, give me all the pancreatic juices you got, give me all the insulin you possibly got. It doesn't do that. There's a small reaction. So the pancreas produces a small amount of insulin. Why? Because the fiber prevented that sudden surge in the insulin production. And then as the food goes down, it slowly gets absorbed. So there's this nice slow dissipation of the nutrients into the bloodstream. That doesn't happen when you eat foods without fiber, without its natural state. You see, nature makes these packages because it's designed that way. And we then have our body, because we evolved in this way 2.5 million years ago with those nutrients, to be able to handle those in that package, the way it comes. So the combinations of fat and sugar are an unnatural combination, modified by man, made into a product such as flour. There's no such thing as flour out there in nature. The steel mill got invented, as I told you all before, in the year 1860-something. And since then, the incidence of degenerative joint disease, heart attacks, myocardial infarction, and diabetes gone off the roof. Look, even when you masticate your food, the mastication produces a certain amount of grinding down of the food, but it never makes it into a powder. There's no way you got that great teeth, do you? I don't have that kind of teeth either. So what happens is that this powderized stuff gets right in there and creates this tremendous surge in hormones because it doesn't know what to do with it. This is totally unnatural. Now, if you give pellets to the rats, their response in hormones, their weight, activity, everything is totally different than if you give them the same food in a powderized form. Same grams, same weight, but in a powderized way. So the more refined the product is, the greater the release all of a sudden. So all flour, in my opinion, all flour should be avoided. Not only is the flour bad for you for this reason, but it stripped off everything, the endosperm. You took out the germ, you took out the outer bran, and you're left with that pure carbohydrate, and then you ground it way, way down. And that's what flour is. Flour is a survival food. It was made so that you extract all these things so that now it can last forever. So now you can put it in a sack and you can get it through winter, and you can actually survive through winter. It's a survival food, but now we use it every day. Every day we're addicted to this, and I'll show you how we're addicted to it. So flour, chemicals added, salt, sugar, colorings, sweeteners. Sweeteners are addictive too. I'll show you. Sweeteners are addictive. You know people who are taking diet Cokes and they just, diet drinks and sodas, they just cannot. Oh yeah, I got off my regular sodas, but now I'm on diet soda. So how much diet soda do you have? I have about 4 of them a day. You know, I just go through the day with my diet sodas. You're addicted. You're addicted because the same sweeteners, such as sucrose, get to the brain, to the dopamine centers, which will come to you in a second, but they stimulate the same place as sugar does. So what happens? The sweet taste in the mouth. So in this case, it's not the calories that are going in there. It's not the sugar that's going to the dopamine center. It's the taste. Insulin is already going to get secreted, and you're already setting up an addiction. So even with these sweeteners, there is a small insulin response. It's a cephalic phase. That sweet taste on your tongue causes all that. And then in anticipation, you become more hungry because you get certain hormones secreted into the bloodstream, such as orexin, for example. But basically, the long and short of it is, diet drinks don't make you lose weight. Diet drinks don't improve your physiology. Diet drinks actually make you more addicted, and you end up eating more and gaining more weight, and your physiology does not get better. So that's just another example. We add caffeine and preservatives and processed oils. Caffeine is an addictive substance. I don't have to tell you more about caffeine. You all know about caffeine already, right? Preservatives. These preservatives that are in our food, why do you need a preservative? Why do you need a preservative in the food? Because you're looking for something that's processed, got a long shelf life, right? So they put some chemicals in it, so it'll last forever. Yeah, so you take some of those French fries and you put them out there, and they'll still be there a month later, nothing's happened to them. Nothing. It's still like that. Even the bugs won't eat it. And they don't go bad. Because they've got the wrong oils in them. They got the vegetable seed oils in them that keep them just the way they are. And did you all know that sugar is a preservative? That's why you add sugar to everything. All processed foods have sugar. Why do they have sugar in them? It's not just for your taste. It's because they also want to preserve the food. Right? It's a great preservative. You put something in molasses or sugar, it's going to stay there, right? So it's a preservative as well. Salt is a preservative too. So all these preservatives and all chemicals that they add to it, the antioxidants and everything else, they all are not unnatural. They are like putting stuff into the mailbox that have a zip code that you've never ever heard of. What does the post office do with it? Doesn't know what to do with it. Body doesn't know what to do with these things. Processed oils. Let me tell you about a little bit of processed oils. You all should go and look at some YouTubes on how processed oils are made, such as for any of these vegetable oils. They call them vegetable oils. There's not a single vegetable oil comes from vegetable. Yeah. But they call it vegetable oil because you are all suckers. You're going to go and buy it. Oh, it's very, very, very good for me. It's vegetable oil, right? It's not animal oil. Because you all have been indoctrinated into thinking that animal oils were bad, because they're saturated, but these are polyunsaturated. But in order to make them, they got to process so many seeds. And from the seeds, they're very high in omega-6, very high in omega-9, and these are pro-inflammatory. Not only are they pro-inflammatory, but they also are addictive. This is something else that nobody knows. If you take rats, I know we are not rats, but I do talk about rats a lot because I read so many studies on rats. And if you give them their food and they're mixed with vegetable seed oils, they're more likely to become addicted to it. By the way, I'll tell you something else. When I was a fellow, we used to do research, and on these rats, you want to create a model for cancer. We used to give them vegetable oils. It grows cancers. Vegetable, if you see the processing of vegetable oil, I promise you, you will not consume vegetable oil anymore. Just go see how it's made. All the chemicals they use and everything and how it's created is terrible. So, full of omega-6. And I think that this is one of the main reasons why a lot of populations who should not be having coronary arteries are having coronary arteries. And the one that, of course, is very close to me is because my ancestry is from India. And in India, they use vegetable seed oils now instead of using the previous animal oil, which was ghee. And I think this is one of the main reasons, combined with a high carbohydrate processed food diet, that in India today, we have the highest incidence of coronary arteries in the world. It's vegetable seed oils. And they need to change their diet today to go back to eating the oils that they used to eat before. I already mentioned fiber to you. Anytime you take out fiber, it's no longer a food, it's a product. Anytime you even take out fat from it, that's a product. Skim milk is not milk. That's not milk, that's a product. You took out the fat from it. It didn't come like that from the cow or the goat. So these are all products. They're unnatural. They're not supposed to be like that. Show me a cow that gives you milk without fat. There's not one. Highly palatable foods. When the cereals first came out, Dr. Kellogg said, this is the first pre-digested food we have. Yeah, it is pre-digested. It's on your tongue, it's already in your bloodstream. I mean, it's so fast, it's so ultra palatable. It's not supposed to be like that. Who said that it's supposed to be like that? That, oh yeah, it's so processed, so you can just put a cereal in your mouth and it's already causing your blood sugar to go up. Your body is supposed to work on it. That's why we have such a long intestine. Otherwise, you'll have a short little intestine. But we don't have a short intestine. We have a very long intestine. And we have all these different hormones in there. And we have bacteria. And this is a process by which that is supposed to slowly go through before it gets into the breads, chips, cookies, all pre-digested foods. They're all pre-digested. And now, let's move on and show. So do these altered foods have a different metabolic process? And yes, they do. I already told you that real food has less insulin production, therefore less obesity, less diabetes, less addiction, and no unnatural combinations and additives, and they are nutrient-dense packaging. They have everything in them. They have the fiber, they got all the vitamins in there, and they got the starch in it there as well, all in one package, the way it is found in nature. And then early satiety. Oh, that's very important, early satiety. So early satiety means that you eat that food and you feel full, so you're not going to overeat. You cannot overeat that. If I give you a proper piece of steak, nice one, grass-fed, I bet you if I give you this much, you won't be able to finish it. But if I give you a processed food, you'll keep eating, keep eating, keep eating. Half an hour later, you can keep eating. An hour later, you'll come back for more. It already comes in you. Then you are going to stick to the diet. Until then, it's a headache because it's like he told me to do that. But when you start telling yourself, I feel so much better when I do this. My brain is so much better. My energy level is so much higher. My clarity is so good. Yes, I'm going to do this. That's when we get there. And to do that, there's a price to pay. The price is you have to go through the withdrawal. You're going to face it. There's going to be a withdrawal. You're going to face the music. You got to do it. You're all going to go through withdrawal if you try this. I'm sorry. It's going to happen. Okay. So, eat outside your normal structure. That's the first thing I tell them. 1 o'clock, you eat your lunch. Don't wait for 1 o'clock. One day, go 12 o'clock. Whoa, 12. Next day, go 2 o'clock. So you're messing up that schedule inside your brain. That's how you get off addictions. And then one day, just skip the lunch completely. So don't be so because what happens, others ghrelin levels will go up exactly at the times that you normally eat. So then you feel so hungry at that time. Are you a slave to ghrelin levels? You shouldn't be. You should be free to eat whenever you want. Not be a slave to all those drives in your body. So the way you do that is you eat outside your eating structure. So one day you get home early, and you get home early and your food is there ready to go and it's only 4:30, 5 o'clock. Heck, have your dinner. Your body will say, what happened, right? But you got to do that. And then you need to find a support group as well that's going to support you. And this one is very big. You must expect some failures. Because if you don't expect a failure and you do fail because you caved in for whatever reason and over the weekend you went out and you binged like crazy, you're going to have a lot of self-loathing. I'm telling you, you don't need to loathe yourself. You don't need to hate yourself because that's a very negative emotion. No, it's going to happen. It is to be expected. It's going to happen to you. It will happen to you. So you just get back on that horse and keep riding, man. You just got to do it. Common adverse effects of breaking addictions are headaches. I get a headache, Doug. It's not going to last forever. You're going to get fatigued. Yes, you get fatigued. It's like a druggie. You're going to get drowsiness, dysphoria mood. That means a little bit of depression type symptoms. Irritability. I'm really hungry. I just say, come around, I'll eat you up. Poor concentration, flu-like symptoms. Flu-like symptoms. You actually get that, bodily flu-like symptoms. Same symptoms that a drug addict will go through. Expect it if you're a big addict and work your way through it. Put cold compressors on your body. Tell your loved one or spouse or anyone to walk you through it. Lie down, watch your favorite movie, drink lots of water, and you'll get over it. Yes, you will get over it. You won't die from it. You will not die from this addiction. That's not going to happen. So that will break your dopamine cycle. Okay? And your cravings will go away. After 3 days, your cravings are gone. And it deconstructs all the maladaptive neural pathways. New pathways will grow in your brain. You'll restore the neurochemical homeostasis. You'll restore your leptin levels. See, a lot of us have leptin resistance, just like insulin resistance. Our leptin levels are so high they just don't respond anymore. Our leptin levels start coming down and start responding. Increase adiponectin levels. So your whole physiology starts changing. I can talk about chemicals for hours, but basically you are restoring your chemicals and hormones back because you've become a hormonally modified human being and you need to get back to the hormones that you're supposed to have. It rewires all your prefrontal cortex, increases brain-derived neurotropic factor. I told you that's really important. That comes when you fast. When do you get BDNF? When you fast. That's when you get BDNF. Exercise also, by the way, increases your BDNF. So one of the things that I don't know if it's on the slide, but maybe on the next slide, but you need to do some exercise because exercise will get you through the period. So, can I exercise during my fast? Absolutely. In fact, that's when you should be exercising. When you exercise on an empty stomach, you get far more benefits than exercising on a full stomach. Okay? Right before you're going to break your fast, that's when you eat. Now, if you're eating once a day, then you exercise right before you're going to be eating. right? So let's say you eat at 7 o'clock in the evening, you go to the gym or you go up to your gym at 6 o'clock, do your exercise, and then go and have your dinner. And none of this high starch stuff. Oh yeah, I got to starch up. No, you don't. You don't need to starch up, right? No starch. And it increases your ketogenesis and metabolic flexibility. What does that mean? Look, there are two major pathways for energy in the body, right? The glucose pathway and the ketones, right? From fatty acids. You need both. One is catabolic and one is anabolic. What does that mean? Your body cannot always be in one mode, anabolic, because you'll never get a chance to be catabolic, break down waste products and get rid of them and rebuild. Take your home. You can't just live in that same house for 30 years. You got to break down that bathroom and rebuild it again. Same way, when you're in ketogenesis, or when you are doing intermittent fasting, or you're doing once a day eating, right, or any form of fasting where there's prolonged periods of time when you're not eating, minimum 16 hours. Minimum. That's the bare minimum. When you're not eating for 16 hours, you're inducing some degree of autophagy in your body. Autophagy means you're recycling all your body parts. You get mitophagy. That means your mitochondria, the senescent ones die. New mitochondria will be formed when you start eating. So when you start, all of a sudden you have more energy. Why do you have more energy? Because you got new mitochondria now. The new mitochondria. After a fast, you get new mitochondria. So there you go. You get stem cell mobilization after fasting. Yeah? You get stem cell mobilization. When does that happen? After 24-hour fasts. When you refeed, you get refeeding reward. And that's why you feel so good after a fast has been broken. And after you feel so energetic, you're on top of the world. You're rebuilding your body. So this metabolic flexibility where your body utilizes glucose, but then also utilizes ketones. Ketones generated how? Your insulin levels must go really low so that the fat stores can be opened up, the fats come out, they get the fatty acids, they get converted in the liver to ketones, and the ketones can be utilized by your body. They're a very nice, clean burning fuel. So we talk about that in my other lectures. But ketones are excellent. Your brain can utilize ketones too. But when you're in that state, and it's a hormetic state, hormesis means stress. It's creating that stress in your body. That stress that does not kill you makes you better and stronger. You have to become periodically ketogenic. You have to. That's how you were made. You can't be constantly in glucose, anabolic. You'll burn down real quick. So the biggest hormetic stress you can create for your body is actually intermittent fasting. Now there are other hormetic stresses too. You can go have a nice sauna, and I love sauna. If any of you have cardiovascular disease, I recommend that you all do saunas, because saunas have been shown to decrease cardiovascular risk, sudden cardiac death, especially if you have diminished ejection fractions and all. But of course, do it in consultation with your cardiologist. But yeah, that's a hormetic stress. Exercise is a hormetic stress. And then of course, there's certain foods that create a hormetic effect in your body as well. So, those certain types of spices, for example, turmeric and all those, they are actually hormetic. That's how they actually work on you and make you better. So, there you go, metabolic flexibility. Multiple fuels. My body can use multiple fuels. That's what you want. And then improves intestinal dysbiosis. Oh, this is so important. And when you do this, you're going to have the microbiome in your gut that's going to be of a wide variety and diversity. And that's what you want, because your long-term health is very tightly knit to your microbiome. You have the wrong microbiome, you're sick. And you will not be able to be working optimally. And what knocks out your microbiome? First and foremost, antibiotics, which you already know. You shouldn't be consuming antibiotics unless you really have to, right? And you should, on a day-to-day basis, replace the bacteria that you're killing, because there's antibiotics in the foods that you eat. So I always take a probiotic. I like kefir, as you all know, but I also take prebiotics. Prebiotics can be bought also. You can buy powdered inulin with FOS, which is fructose oligosaccharides. So these is clear fiber. So you just wish it in water and you can't even see it. That's the food for the bacteria. So there's a prebiotics. Prebiotics also in all the fibers that you eat. All the vegetables have prebiotics. So you have prebiotics, you have the probiotics, which will produce postbiotics. The postbiotics are all the chemicals that your body needs and the nutrients that it needs. And there's a strong signal. We can talk about this on another talk. There's a big signal between those chemicals that are released in the gut and they go up to your brain via the vagus nerve and through your circulation and changes the chemistry in your brain. The bacteria change the chemistry in your brain. And it's amazing stuff. Who would think that the bacterial product affects the way I feel, think, and how my brain functions? Absolutely proven. Absolutely proven. We'll talk about that on another talk. And then it improves leaky gut. Of course it does, because you're giving the gut a chance to heal. But if you're eating every 2-3 hours and you're eating all this poison, you'll never heal your leaky gut. And today we get leaky gut for lots of reasons, because the bacteria are all wrong. They cause leaky gut. Food, certain foods can cause leaky gut. The lectins we already talked about. But you may have certain food sensitivities. So if you feel that that's going on, go and get a blood test. You can see which foods you're sensitive to. Everyone's made a little bit different. Everyone's different. So you can get that done and get your gut healed. You can get the gut lining healed so that they're no longer porous. A porous gut causes immune activation, because all those immune cells inside your gut and the cross reactivity and connective tissue. Do you know how many patients in my office come with connective tissue disease? And what I do with them is I work on their gut. I make them change their diet, and all of a sudden the joint pains all get better. But how do I do this? It starts with my diet and then fasting. So I had a patient just the other day that came in. I got an email actually from a doctor. Doctor said that he put the patient on my diet. The patient lost 27 pounds, and this is the email he received, and he sent me the email. The first line she wrote in this: "Doctor, I've lost 27 pounds, and all my joint pains are gone." No, this wasn't done for her. I did this for her heart, right? But all her joint pains were gone. All her joint pains are gone. She said, I don't wake up with those achy joints in the morning. I feel so good. My joints are so flexible. How did that happen? It's the immune responses that changed in her body. So she must have had an immune response change because of her gut change. So I wish I could have studied her gut and see exactly what's going on. But that was a nice email that I got from another cardiologist's office. Okay, so fasting for addiction. Why? Because it also induces autophagy. I already talked about that. Mitophagy. It induces the weight loss, positive self-esteem. I told you you're going to feel better about yourself after you've done it, because your frontal lobe's working now. And all those depressive nonsense in your brain's gone. You've worked out all those chemicals, all those counter-regulatory chemicals that built up in your brain because of the addiction and positive, dopamine. All these other chemicals have had a chance to work out. When they've worked out of your brain, now your brain can function normally. So long as you're addicted and you're constantly eating and you're dopamine, those other chemicals don't get a chance to go down. They're constantly accumulating. Hence you feel depressed, tired, fatigued, even suicidal. So you get that improved self-esteem, mood, depression, less pain, improved sleep, eliminates fatty liver, gets rid of sleep apnea. Heck, who wants to sleep with a mask all night long? I don't want to sleep with a mask all night long. Got better things to do. Improves insulin sensitivity, reverses your diabetes, and eliminates toxins. So fasting eliminates toxins. So not only does this program for addiction help that, but so all these toxins. So some toxins are eliminated very quickly. Okay. So for example, you put all these creams on your body and the phthalates are there, they'll be gone in 24 hours. But if you keep putting them on you every 24 hours, you're going to get a lot of phthalates in your body. So I tell people, listen, you are toxic. Stop using those unnecessary chemicals on your body. So they're gone. Other plastics that are inside your body, they also slowly start coming out. All these organophosphates in your body, all these from your garden and from insecticides and pesticides, all of them will get a chance to get. How are they going to get out from your body unless you fast? Right? You detox your body. You have to detox your body because eating can be toxic. So you need to detoxify your body. Okay. And then, of course, fasting promotes the metabolic flexibility, which I mentioned in the earlier slide. So you got to see that previous slide. So, this slide is just talking about adiponectin, and it's just science, basically. But the long and short of it is that you want to get rid of insulin resistance, and you want to get rid of your inflammation. You want to, you want to activate the AMPK, and we can talk all about that on other days. Oxidative stress needs to go down. So protect the pancreas. And this is a little bit about autophagy. Just a little slide to remind you all that autophagy, which is what comes in after you've done some fasting, especially for addicts, it induces all these positive changes, right? It cleans up the cells, so you get less infections, less fatty liver, less diabetes, less neurodegenerative changes. You get less, even cancer, because you're killing off the cancer cells. You're killing off the cancer cells. When you're not feeding yourself, cancer cells die in your body. Because they need food. And which food do they need most? Sugar! That's right. Sugar. So you're not feeding them sugar, they starve. Cancer cells die. Yeah. So there you go. So immune system gets better, cardiomyopathy gets better, and there's less aging. So I want to stop here because I can talk for hours on this. But the purpose of talking about addiction was this, that yes, I love my fasting program, and it's worked on hundreds and hundreds of patients. And I thank everybody because I get all these emails and messages saying how fantastic they feel and everything else. But I think that those who might be addicted may be missing the boat. I want to bring addiction to the forefront to let people know that down from your kids down to all of us, there's a subtle addiction. Get out of addiction. Develop metabolic flexibility. Change your habits. Become a free person who can eat when he wants or she wants and no problems. My body is flexible. If I don't eat today, I'm not going to drop dead. I have that flexibility. Develop that and you'll get all these different benefits from it. Stop eating anything that is addictive. You know all the foods that are addictive now, no processed foods basically. I think processed food addiction is going to be talked about a lot in the future. So look out for that. But I thank you all very much, and I'm going to stop right there. Thank you so much. Okay, I could take a couple of questions if you'd like. It is late, but I'll take a couple of questions.
So, Dr. Jamnadas, 300 years ago in the Middle Ages, they ate bread that was not like what we have today. Is there something available like that for us today that's a basic bread that is just a minimally processed grain? Can we get something like that
today?
There is,
yeah, there are.
Where can we get something like that?
Very difficult to find. You have to go online, but you got to eat real whole grain bread. So you got to get that flour. So it has to be real whole grain. Because remember that the government allows you to call it whole wheat bread when only 10% of it is actually whole wheat. It's 90% all pure white. But no, they are. And millet bread is better than wheat bread. So the first start would be to go to millet instead of wheat. If you're going to stick to wheat, then it's going to be difficult. You're going to have to find real whole wheat that is brown, hard, and heavy. And basically the only place I've ever seen that is I buy it on the internet.
On the internet, okay. You didn't mention, so here's the diet I got from you. Fruits, vegetables, you gave us those, no grains. So I'm looking for meats. You want grass-fed meats is what you want?
Absolutely. Meats are natural. Meats are out there. They're part of nature. So you are nature, you eat the meat. Okay? But it has to be grass-finished meat.
Chicken okay?
Chicken is fine. It has to be organic chicken. You see, in the old days, I used to talk about being vegetarian and only plant-based and no meats whatsoever. No, there's nothing really wrong with meats, but it's just that we've been eating the wrong meats because our meats today are all fed omega-6s and grains in all these big lots. So the meat is totally different meat than it was 200 years ago or 150 years ago. So no omega-6, more omega-3, very little omega-6 in it, lots of saturated fat in it, not a problem. The fat that comes in its natural state in nature is not bad for you. It's the fats that we have made, processed fats, they're bad for you. But so if you eat a nice juicy steak with a lot of fat coming off it, I have no problem with it as long as it's grass finished.
I know. And so, I'm sorry, go on.
So I love the fats. Chicken, same thing. Shrimps and fish, wild caught salmon, I like, because the others tend to have too many other toxins, including mercury. If you're going to eat regular fish, don't eat it more than twice a week because there's too much mercury in it. So you can eat fish as well. And eggs. I love eggs, organic eggs. Very good for you. Egg is a complete product. Don't take the yolk and throw it away. Eat it with the yolk.
So if we're eating like this, what do you think is a goal for calcium for us? If we're eating this way, what do you think? It's certainly not 1,000 or 1,200 milligrams that we need, that we hear, right? It's probably lower. Do you have a recommendation for how much calcium we should be trying to get from plants and vegetables and so forth?
No. The most nutrient-dense food is actually meat, right? Meat, chicken, fish, turkey, eggs. So if you're eating that food, you're going to get plenty of calcium in it. And then when you eat your vegetables, you've got to eat some vegetables with it. Now, if you look at it, take spinach. You'd never think spinach has a lot of calcium. It does. Has a lot of calcium in it. So you're going to get plenty of calcium in the foods. And that little calcium that might be in spinach compared to other foods, but it's all bioabsorbable because it comes packaged that way. So if you take a calcium tablet and you whip it down, it's going right through into your toilet. You hardly absorb and you don't metabolize any of that. So there's studies to show that elemental calcium supplementation increases cardiovascular risk actually. So you don't want to take calcium on its own. Nature wants you to absorb calcium in its natural state with everything else. So I don't take calcium tablets. I don't give my wife calcium tablets. Her bone density is just fine. Not a problem. So calcium, no, do not take supplements. The supplement you should be taking is magnesium. Okay, and the reason why you want to take magnesium is because today's vegetables don't have magnesium. Even today's meat doesn't have much magnesium. There's not much magnesium in our water either. So we are all magnesium deficient. So I like magnesium taurate, but other people like other forms of magnesium. I have no issues with glycinate. Magnesium glycinate is also all right. Magnesium citrate causes diarrhea. But if you have constipation, then take magnesium citrate. So I have no problem with that.
Hello, thank you for your talk. It's very awesome, lots of information. But you threw me on two things. Like I ate a lot of spaghetti squash, and then I saw the sweet potatoes. So I wondered if you could elaborate on that. And then I also heard you say I put lotion on my body every day, but I'm wondering if I'm putting toxins.
Yes. Okay, the first part is spaghetti squash. I love spaghetti squash because that's made from squash, and squash is a whole product. I have no problem with that. And all you've done with it is made it look like spaghetti so you can eat it. So I have no problem with that whatsoever. So the spaghetti I have no problem with. And the other food you mentioned was?
Sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes, okay. Sweet potatoes is also a whole food. I have no problem with sweet potato because it comes with the fiber, it's completely packaged and you're eating the whole thing. I have no issues with sweet potato unless you're severely overweight, obese. If you're not dealing with weight loss, I've reached my ideal body weight, then you can have that. Absolutely no problem. My sugar's under good control, you can have it. Not a problem. Not a problem. Because you're getting fat. Now, white potatoes have a much higher glycemic index than sweet potatoes. So generally speaking, I don't like too much potatoes. But sweet potatoes, I have no problem with that. No problem with sweet potatoes. So you can have sweet potatoes. So you're okay with that. And it's not going to bump up your sugar. Now, for those of you who have continuous glucose monitoring, you notice that when you eat a regular potato, your blood sugar spikes right after eating potato. But when you take sweet potato, there is a small spike, but it's just a mild spike. I do like continuous glucose monitoring for that reason. So all of us have a slightly different physiology. If you're really concerned about which foods are really helping you and which ones are not, and you don't want to spike your sugar, because that's your problem you're dealing with. Let's say you have insulin resistance, high insulin levels, diabetes, then I suggest that you get a continuous glucose monitoring. You can buy it. It's about $500. So what you do is they put that little button on you, and you just monitor. You have your meal, you check it out, and you can see which one is causing that big spike in sugar. And you say, okay, that food does it, that food did it, that food did it. You can avoid those. So people who are doing that, I get great results when they do that, because now it's like a biofeedback. They're getting their own information back and it's changing their behavior. So continuous glucose monitoring is something I really endorse very much. And then the last question that you had was about your
Lotion on our body.
lotion. Yeah, you know what? You don't have lotion deficiency, my friend. These lotions were not made for anything but to sell it to you. And One, they have perfumes in them, and these perfumes may or may not be good for you. But what I don't like is phthalates. Those are plasticizers. That's what gives it that creamy texture. Those phthalates get absorbed. And you take a shower with the body lotion on it, and you do it like the ones that you use, right? Then urinate for the next 2 hours. You'll see very high concentrations of phthalates in them. So phthalates are plasticizers. They're plastics. They go into the body, and they call estrogen stimulators. So they disrupt your insulin in your body. And that is why I don't like them, because they anything that interferes with your hormones. You see, what did I say? You're a hormonally modified human being. Don't mess with your hormones. We don't know much about hormones. Anything that's going to affect your hormone, you should be very careful about. I don't mess with any creams, plasticizers on my skin. Now, unless you have eczema and you really have really bad skin, yeah, you can put that on there. But I saw another patient the other day using a lot of sunscreen. She uses sunscreen day in and day out. She said, I live in Florida, I put sunscreen in the morning, even in the afternoon. Her vitamin D levels were 20. 20. Besides that, I can guarantee you that part of her problems that she's having is because she's messed up her estrogens and stimulation, estrogen stimulation. So I told her, you got to cut this out, and you see how good you'll start feeling. So
there's not a natural. There's no natural.
There are natural creams that you can buy that don't have any of the plasticizers and phthalate-free, plastic-free creams. They are available. You got to go to certain stores that carry those brands, but they are available. Yes. Growing up as a kid in Africa, we just used to put Vaseline, and Vaseline doesn't get absorbed. But Vaseline is a nice moisturizer as well. It keeps the moisture inside for my dry skin when we were little. That's it.
What about glycerin for skin?
Gold seal?
Glycerin.
Oh, glycerin. Glycerin's fine. Glycerin's excellent. You see? So the soap, for example, I use simple soap. Simple soap that doesn't contain anything except pure soap, and it's mostly glycerin. So I don't use the regular soaps because they're full of all these chemicals in them. The colorizers and too many plasticizers in them. So I don't use regular soap either. I want to be as natural as I can because the environment is giving me all the toxins I need anyway. You know, it's terrible, terrible. I'm going to do a talk on pollution, environmental pollution in general, and what we can do in our home. What can we do at home to prevent pollution? Because it's a lot of it is indoor pollution, and in the food that we eat and the environment, and things like this. What you put on your skin, what you put on your face, and what you wash your hair with, what you even wash your dishes with, your clothes with. And there's so many things we can talk about just pollution. So I'm going to talk about pollution as well. Because, you know, what's that got to do with the heart? It has everything to do with everything. You know, the heart is not just an organ. All these other things affect the heart as well, and the cardiovascular system. It affects the arteries. And you are nothing but a bunch of arteries that are supplying organs. If the arteries get messed up, that organ doesn't work very well. And all your arteries are the same, whether they're the heart, the carotid, the renals, intracerebral, they're all the same. We must take care of our arteries. You are as old as your arteries. That's why everything we talk about here is to keep your arteries nice and healthy. You're as old as your arteries. Keep your arteries healthy. Everything else will take care of itself. And we've just gone onto the wrong road. And it all started because, I told you before, it all started because of the bad information about fats. The wrong information about fats, because someone had to blame something because the president died of a heart attack. And then along comes somebody who wants to make a name for himself. Governor McGovern. And then, Ansel Keys had to make a big name about the fat thing, so he was the one who blamed it. And then these people took it to the legislature and made it rule now. Okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then the nation is so good. They followed it to the T. And here we are today. Worse off than we ever were before. You see, being a cardiologist, my biggest frustration was just this, that I can fix an artery if it's blocked. Well, what can I do to prevent that blockage in the first place? I had nothing. I had some. I always did some preventive stuff. But what I was doing was really just scraping the surface. It really wasn't doing much. So as I started reading more and more, I got so excited about all the different things, especially about diet. But now I'm getting into other things too. Fasting, which is not dieting, it's different. Fasting is different from dieting. And then I'm getting into other things such as sauna, environmental pollution, how they influence your body as well. Ice dunks and how that can also improve your physiology. Sleep, heavy into sleep. I'm going to do one talk on sleep and how sleep, what is sleep and how should we sleep and how much should we sleep and how should we get to sleep and what can we do to get deeper sleep and how do you know you're even getting good sleep? How do you know the quality of the sleep that you're having instead of just quantity? What's about the quality? How do you measure it? And what are we doing to disrupt that? And how does that affect your cardiovascular system? And it's huge how it affects your cardiovascular system. So we're talking about sleep, we're talking about the environment, we're talking about your food, we're talking about heat, cold, supplements, herbs. So we want to kind of hack our body into health again using all these different modalities. And get rid of all these old thoughts that we had about, we were really misled. We were misled, Yeah. So thank you all for being such a great audience, and look for my next one. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.